as well over in New Zealand. And I can tell you one thing, it's been great so far. And today, we're going to take on the 7th installment of the eCrit series powered by KISS. 43 kilometers, 7 laps of the London Classique course. I can tell you this is going to get tough. The current standings have Aaron Dunn at the very, very top, the only rider to break 100 points. Second place, we've got Anthony Vegan Porsche, but the man to watch out for a bit further down with about 50 points is Troy Herfoss. He's almost won the last 3 races. Actually, I believe he has won the last 3 races back to back to back. Let's take a look at his Zwift Power results. Last week when I was down under, finished first. Race 4, he finished first. He skipped race 5 though, so last 2 races he's competed in, he's been the victor in those races, and we'll see how he goes on today. Drew Jin has actually just made it to the start line, and that spells bad news for all the sprinters out there. Just like B. Ryan McCallie says, it is hammer time, everybody. The riders taking part in the start line, Drew Jin, Troy Herfoss, maybe a Cameron Roberts is in there. Aiden Diaga, who has been told to look out for as well. These riders, they raced together in the National Series Down Under, and now they're taking their efforts inside onto the trainer and out to the virtual worlds of London, the Classics course. This is going to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't already gone to go get yourself a beverage, go get yourself some chips, some crisps, wherever you call them, wherever you're from. Maybe a piece of chocolate. Maybe if you are going to go a bit more healthy, go get yourself a salad perhaps and go sit down and watch it, because this is going to be 45 minutes to an hour of fast-paced racing from the start to the finish. Ladies and gentlemen, you ready to start your engines? Because in 10 seconds time, we're going to see those engines rev up all the way to the top. I've had the pleasure of doing commentary with Matt Keenan and Lee Turner Down Under, and I can tell you they've been a massive inspiration, and we'll try and see if we can do them, do them proud as we commentate here in the eCrit series live on the Go Zwift Facebook page. Off the front already, we've got Michel at 10 watts per kilogram. We got Vect as well. As always, when you got the KISS starts, everyone just wanted to get out, get to the front, settle in, and do not get dropped at the very beginning. As Drew Jin now also sitting second place in the front group, we're rocking that yellow kit at 150 revolutions per minute. He is really spinning out now. He's spinning to win it right now. Savatsky is also making an appearance. Mr. Savatsky, I had the pleasure of meeting him in Melbourne. He came up to me at the very, very end saying, Jesper, I want to race more. He won a magnificent race, like race 2 or 3, where he popped an aero power at the right moment, and it looks like he has decided to show up today, and he's one of the riders to look out for because he's won this exact course previously in the series. So far so good, as all racers are pretty much still together after that really fast start. Troy Herfoss sitting at the back. We've got almost a group of about 40-50 riders sitting together. We've got Neil Padlov, Team Aussie Day Hump Ride, which I now know what Hump Day actually means thanks to our brilliant commentator in Sydney. That was an event you had to be there for. Nazis on here. We got Riley Fleming. We've got several riders making up the group so far as we're heading out to the road. We're just about to get onto the course, and then we're going to do the London Classics course for about 7 laps. But now the name of the game is hanging on, saving energy, and utilizing that draft effect. While we're just, making our way out onto the grounds, maybe it's time to give a little shout out. Usually the Down Under, the eCrit series is, it's meant for Australians to show off, to, actually have a heads-up display of courage, power, and willpower down under. But today, the Zwift HQ from London office have decided to jump in on the action and try to shake some of that jet lag after almost 30 hours traveling from Melbourne back to London. We've got Mr. Tom Hargraves, who races in the elite category here in London. I believe we also have the VP of Marketing, Steve Beckett, out there, as well as the Head of Growth, Ian Vinton, who is a bit further down and looks to be struggling, as we'll give him a ride on, as I had the pleasure of riding with these guys in Auckland, in Sydney, and in Melbourne, and they're quite strong. So if Ian Vinton is struggling, I'd be way off the back right now as well. Aaron Dunn racing for the WP Task Team, which I now know what it stands for, actually. It stands for the Wolfpack Tasmania Squad, because while we were in Melbourne, we had the pleasure of riding with Wesley Salzberger, formerly of Drapac Cycling, and now En route coaching, I think it's called, where he helps out riders from around the world. He's actually one of the let's call it students, one of his domestiques, one of his what's the right word for that? Help me out over on the Go Zwift Facebook page. But he is coaching Aaron Dunn and Nazi from the Wolfpack Task team that are out on course. And as you know, Aaron Dunn so far has been the most consistent, the only rider to break 100 points so far in the eCrit series. And he looks poised to go to that live finale in Melbourne in September. And if you don't know what that is about, in September, the best 5 racers from the East category and the West category will line up to duke it out in Melbourne at a live racing venue on the, is it the 19th or the 12th of September? I know it's one of those two dates where they'll be heads up against each other, 5 trainers on this side, 5 trainers on that side, and then it's all about the what? It's all about communication, teamwork, and to see who can, you know, emerge victorious at the end of about 6 months of racing. It's been great so far to watch all these riders duke it out week in, day out, and this, it's gonna culminate up to I'm speechless right now because the idea of where this is gonna go, because so far the trajectory of like the racing has just been like upwards. It's just been exponential growth every week. It's become better and better and better. And looking to go into the winter, like the winter months of like August, I think it's gonna get really competitive with these Australians duking it out, trying to claw in every single point. Because if you're just starting now, there's still plenty of points up for grabs. I mean, 5th place right now is about 60 points. So if you start right now and you finish consistently in top 5, you could easily make it back up there. Maybe even win a VIP trip to a venue down in Melbourne. Drew Jin now 4 seconds up the front with Hassan, actually has gone off early, but it looks like he will be marked by Porsche, by Nazi, by Herfoss, Horst, Savatsky, Uckerby, Pat Law. And let's take a look further down. We've got Riley Fleming as well, Gentleman Jim, Mitch Maycock. So familiar names to the Aussie eCrit series here in the East, but it looks like we've not even entered the circuit yet, and the pace is already through the roof, and riders are in ones and ones all over the road. Echelons happening right now. There may not be wind out there, but these riders are creating a whirlwind. So we got Troy Herfoss now popping an aero power up together with Leach, and they've got a second off the front. Troy Herfoss has mentioned in the past that he likes to go off the front and put everyone else into that hurt zone, as he is, as he self-proclaims, he's a better TT, you know, specialist and sprinter, but the last few races he's won has been from a sprint, averaging about 13 watts per kilogram for like 10 seconds. So Troy, I don't know what that's all about, but man, you are strong. Speaking of another strong sprinter, Savatsky, as I mentioned before, and a guy to keep an eye out on, sitting second wheel right now, is they've got a gap, and so the peloton is actually split into pieces. We've got Nazi, we've got Ben Hill, who I believe is a pro cyclist for a pro country team down in Australia, who may or may not have broken his collarbone. So if that is indeed the case, Ben Hill, I say right on to you, man. It's great to see your efforts out on course as he's racing in that Cycling Club Canberra kit, also the same one that Matthew Heyman is from, I do believe. We've got Uckerby in here and the 2 teammates of Nazi and Dunn. If you're not familiar, if you haven't watched the last few races in the East eCrit series, the way that Aaron Dunn and Nazi, they play their team tactics, because they're both from the Wolfpack Task team, coached by Wesley Salzberger. They've got Nazi continuously trying to go off the front and soften up everybody's legs. And then they've got Aaron Dunn sitting in. And so he's like the ace in the hole. He is ready to sprint if it comes all back together on these red roads next to Buckingham Palace. He's going to go off the front and he's going to give it everything to go to get those points all the way at the top now. But Nazi, he's the real MVP. He is the super domestique. He's the luxury domestique. He is the water bottle carrier. He is the man who makes this all happen for Aaron Dunn and the WP Task team, and they've been doing great so far. I know that Wes was talking about recruiting more riders to try and help out Aaron Dunn gather points as he continues to race every Tuesday at 7 o'clock here out on course. We got another attack on the front now. Troy Herfoss, he got that the blue turtle shell, is that what it's called? That my good colleague Nathan Guerra likes to call it. He's got the aero power up, goes off the front on that Cervelo bike, nice and aero, and he's got a second gap now, and it's Drew Jin who's trying to close down the gap. And if Drew Jin and Troy Herfors were to get away, that would spell trouble for the rest of this group, as they've got engines in that room, I can tell you that. As Hassan is sitting in, Vegan Porsche. I had the pleasure of riding with Anthony Vegan Porsche in Melbourne, and within an hour he'd already dropped me that I was so far behind. I was bunked. Another rider to keep eyes out on for, but he weighs about 59 kilos, and considering it's a crit race, a criterium, usually crits are flat and they're fast and they've got a hectic finish. It'll be interesting to see how Anthony Vegan Porsche progresses every week, because all these courses are flat, with the exception of the volcano course that's on Votopia. That you got when you enter the volcano, you've got that little ramp. If you are a guy like Anthony Vegan Porsche, you could utilize that to your advantage and try to beat out the sprinters, but so far he's been doing great, sitting at second place overall. Last week, he did call me up and say, Jesper, you won't believe what happened. I had the legs, I had diamonds. I mean, these diamonds you won't get anywhere else, and then going into the sprint, I had a mechanical. Can you believe it, Jesper? As I am paraphrasing Mr. Anthony Vegan Porsche. So he'll be riding with anger, with a burning sensation in his gut, wanting to make up for last week's mistakes, last week's mechanical errors. There were no Mavic neutral service. There was no Shimano neutral cars. And we'll see if Anthony Vegan Porsche can make up for it today and try to claw back time and points on Aaron Dunn, but those two riders are, far in between from everyone else in the top 5. Neil Patlaw, I had the pleasure of meeting Neil in, I believe that was Sydney, with Tim Searle and Andrew James as well. Excuse me if I'm wrong, I'm really bad with names, but Andrew, Neil, and Tim were all in Sydney rocking their Aussie Day Hump Day rides shirts while they were trying to give the KOM challenge a good go, and Andrew did it really, really well. Neil was reluctant to give it a go, but he was probably just saving his legs for this race, as he's sitting top 5 right now, so we'll keep an eye out on him, as he's definitely got all the support for the Aussie Hump Day riders all around of Australia as they're cheering him on right now. I'm sure they're sitting in Discord somewhere, they're on Facebook, they're messaging Neil, come on man, give it bacon, give it everything you've got, get ready for the after party. As I think that is Nazi going off the front now. I mean, this is just always non-stop attacks all the way at the front. It's Ryan McNally who is 2 seconds off the front, nobody really ready to chase it down yet, as Ockerby is actually a part of WP Task. So Nazi and Dunn have gained a teammate out there for today's race, Mr. Ockerby from the Wolfpack Task team. That makes them 3 riders, and makes them very dangerous for the rest out here. That should, in theory, that should spell the end to any attacks out there as they try to set Aaron Dunn up for victory. But if the right rider goes away and Nazi's in that break, I think it's time, or it may just be that Aaron Dunn says, you've done so much work for me, Nazi. It is all okay. You go off the front and you take this one. I will get the rest of the points down in the peloton. You've earned it. But we'll see how this plays out. We're still very early into the race. 11 minutes in, 10 kilometers in. And here we go. If you're not familiar with the Classics course, this climb coming up is about 200 meters in length at about 6 or 7%. It's a leg buster, as we'll see riders having to hit 7 to 8 watts per kilogram just to hang up with the front now. As you see Anthony Vegan Porsche, Troy Herfors, Nazi, the usual suspects, all keyed up into 8 watts per kilogram, just making sure they do not get spat out the back, while putting everyone else into the hurt zone, trying to, put one rider off the back, put 2 riders off the back, just thin out the group every ascent, every single time, because this climb is so brutal. Like, we're seeing Riley Fleming at 190 beats per minute right now. When you get to the top, you go, oh, it's finally over. 200 meters of just you grinding the big ring, grinding a big gear. But when you get to that top, that's where you need to keep up momentum. That's where you got to break that inertia. You got to keep going, because everyone else will carry speed into the flats while you're going like, I have to, keep breathing, and you kind of ease off. That's where everyone else just puts on the NOS and goes off the front and finds that, fast and furious 7th, 8th, 9th gear, and you're just done. Anyway, I did saw a face I wanted to point out. So, Mr. Coach Aiden, I do believe this is the rider that I was told to look out for in today's race. He is a newcomer to the racing here, but rumor has it that he races national level with Cameron Roberts, with Troy Herfoss, and the rest of the big guns here. So he may be a newcomer to the eCrit series, but he's definitely one to look out for today, as he's rocking the Wahoo Kicker kit and a specialized tarmac. That's a nice kit. That's a nice bike you've got there. Just behind me out here on the London course, you know, parked in a corner, I've got a nice specialized SOX tarmac as well with a Ultegra group set. Just an amazing bike that is just awesome, I can tell you that. So we'll look out for Aiden now, sitting in the pack. We've got a collective group. If we take a look at the camera shot, about 35 riders, 30 minutes in, and it's settling down a tiny bit. So far, it's been really good. It's been great to be back. Last week, it was Nathan Guerra who took over duties for me while I was down under, and I can tell you, I missed it. I was watching in from the hotel, and I was like, oh, this is so good. This racing is just top notch. I don't think you get racing like this anywhere else on Zwift. There's the KISS Europe, KISS Americas, there's the Friday Criterium, EVR, but the level of competition, there's something about that Australian spirit. It's so social but yet so competitive, and when those two aspects collide, you just get the eCrit series. It's so good, it's so fun, the banter is great, and these riders, they know how to give it their all out here, day out, day in, and it's just a pleasure to watch. And if you're watching over on the Facebook page and you think it's fun to watch, I urge you to take out your phone, give a ride out to any of the riders you're watching out for, that you're cheering on, anyone that has impressed you, inspired you to get on the bike, get out the mobile app, jump on, find Savatsky, find Troy Herfoss, find Drew Jin, find whoever is inspiring you right now, and make it rain ride-ons. It's like, you know when you give a kudos on Strava and it makes somebody's day? When you give a ride-on Zwift, it makes their week. It takes you 5 seconds to make somebody go into this. So anyway, I'm going to give a ride-on to the rider I think is going to go well today, and that's going to be Glenn Elton. Another rider who's consistently finished well in these races, and he's very much alone from what I understand. He's not affiliated with a team. He's just got the motivation to race every week, try to get the fitness up, and maybe with his eyes on that finale in September, he's done so well every week, and he's gone under the radar, consistently finishing top 10 without putting in too much, you know, without spending too much money on fireworks. Let's say that. He's still got matches left in his match book, as he's another rider to look out for. And I mean, I need to get a note block. I need to write down names to look out for, because that note block would not be A4, it would not be A3, it would not be A2, it'd be A1. That's how big that piece of paper will be at the end of the day. Every week, it feels like we're piling on riders to look out for as they're racing out here on the Classics course. Looks like at the front of affairs, Drew Jin once again has tried to break away, but it's calming down. This early into the race, everyone is feeling good, everyone is warmed up, and their legs are ready. As it looks like we may have a bit of lag over on the broadcast. I do apologize for that, as we're trying to fix for it. There it goes. So, sorry for the lag for a second there. It should be fixed now. So, and there's a ride on to Jujin. Thank you everyone very much for listening to that. And we've got a breakaway now. In the midst of the ride-ons, we've got Drew Jin and Troy Herfoss off the front, 2 seconds off the front, and Anthony Vegan Porsche kicked up to 7 watts per kilo, trying to catch them back. And he is doing that. Anthony Vegan Porsche does have a teammate in there today, Jeffrey Creel, who is another rider for Team Vision, who actually has won a berth. He's won a spot. Let's see if we can find Mr. Jeffrey Creel out on course, because I know he may have had a mechanical. He may have been dropped off. I do not see him just yet. There he is, Jeffrey. Jeffrey has actually won a playoff spot, a berth to the London CVR event happening next week, I think it is. It may actually just be next week here in London. So from racing on Zwift, he has won a spot, a VIP ticket to London. And I do very much hope to see my teammate and friend in London next week, as he's helping out Anthony Vegan Porsche, trying to get the points out on course. So it's all back together now. Drew Jin and Troy Herfoss. It's not the last we've seen of their attacks. It's not the last we've seen of Nazi gone off the front. But with 43 kilometers of total distance to be raced today, I think it's going to be a bit too early to go now. We do see in the West Crit very often that Ben Simpson, we've got Richard Gales, Richard Cook. They often attack at this point in the race, and he succeeds. But the overall field in the Western Crit is not lesser, but it's smaller. It's smaller in size, meaning that breakaways have a higher possibility of succeeding, whereas here in the East eCrit, I mean, just take a look at the shot from above. Look at how many riders are still in there from all different teams, all different agendas, attacking this early. Unless you've got diamonds in your legs, it's going to be tough to go off the front. But here we go again, getting ready to go up that Whitehall climb, hitting up Trafalgar Square. Will we see separation? We've seen Troy Herfoss in the past attack up there and make the separation and go off the front with his, I believe, his racing teammate Cameron Roberts. But Cameron Roberts looks like he could not make it today, so he'll be handicapped in that regards. As the riders are now entering it, they're ramping up the speed, and here they go. They're about to hit the ramp, and we'll see who's, tied up their shoelaces, who's put on the medal, who's put on the helmet straps, and who is ready to go to work. Who is clocking in now? Because here we go. Nazi, 8 watts per kilo. Savatsky, 10 watts per kilo. Using that drafting power up. Anthony Vegan Porsche, 8 watts per kilo. Hassan, Aaron Don, Maycock, Ben Hill, just at 5 watts per kilo. He looks tiny. Let's take a look at Ben Hill's data over on SwiftPower.com. He looks to be about 170 at like 60 kilos, which could be very interesting. Let's take a look over on Swift Power, which is a great tool if you want to watch your friends' races, or you want to watch what Eugene is putting out, or Troy Herfoss. So Mr. Ben Hill over on SwiftPower.com. He is 67 kilos at... 67 kilos at... Let's take a look at his height. It's actually, height is not inserted here on SwiftPower.com. I thought it was. My mistake. Anyway, great racing still out on course so far. While we've got SwiftPower.com open, let's take a look at the watts per kilos that have been thrown down already. Nancy has been sitting at 4.5, Riley Fleming at 4.7, Herfoss 4.6. We've got Drew Jin at 4.9, weighing in at 85 kilograms. He's one of the heavyweight riders who's been sitting at 413 watts all the way through so far. We've got Vegan Porsche at 5 watts per kilograms. He's got to be hurting. Ben Hill at 4.9. We may only have raced 16 kilometers, but so far those kilometers have been fast-paced out there. Yet, nobody's still letting go, and that's due to the drafting and the racing expertise out on Zwift. It's not always the strongest rider that wins in cycling, and that goes for Zwift as well. If you are on the front, you're going to be burning more energy, you're going to be spending more matches, while riders in the back are going to start counting their money, start counting their change, and getting ready to go all in on the final lap. Because when you sit in, you utilize the slipstream effect, meaning that 25% less watts you have to use. You actually save up watts that you can then spend later on. Just like the Tour de France, just like the Giro d'Italia, Zwift racing has got a level of, cleverness to it. You've got to race with your brain as much as your heart, as much as your legs. It's a trifecta that all have to work together in order for you to obtain that top spot on the podium. So we got another aero power up being popped on the left side. It looks like Mr. Polish just spending that aero power up to get another power up as he goes underneath the banner. And that's another thing about strategy. If you've got an aero power up, should you use it just to get another power-up? Because on this course, the aero power-up is supreme. As we saw in race 4, where Savatsky won, I think it was, if you can save that aero power-up for the sprint, you may not be the strongest sprinter. You may not be a Mark Cavendish, a Marcel Kittel, an Andre Greipel. But if you are a Mark Renshaw and you are a great lead-out man, you've got that kick, even with the aero power-up, you could turn in to a Robbie McEwen. So you've got to use it at the right moment. It's a bit about experience on the bike. The more you race, the more you know what to do, and that's really what's so intriguing about Zwift racing. You can have the same riders, the same course, the same conditions, but with different results every week. That's why cycling is fun. It is never too predictable. It's always, there's always a bit of pepper, a bit of spice in the racing when you've got different riders, different strategies, same riders, of course. Anyway, you may have noticed that I've changed out the cap today. Usually I wear my Washington Wizards cap, but since they were eliminated in the NBA playoffs, we've switched to something more appropriate, which is the Ride Tour de Cure, which is a great initiative that is actually taking place down under. And if you want to know more about it, go on Google and search Ride Tour de Cure. Absolute great initiative, and thank you so much for giving the Zwift HQ boys that were down under a bit of merchandise, and I absolutely love the design of this one. So Tour de Cure, right on to you guys, and keep trucking on. Let's take a look at the racing now, as we are almost halfway through the racing. We got another lap to go, and then we're at the halfway point, as Troy Herfoss, 4 seconds off the front again. While I was giving a shout out to Tour de Cure, it looks like he may have gone off the front again at 5 seconds. The peloton behind chasing on, but with Drew Jin at the head of affairs back in the pack, it looks like this could be a tough effort for Troy Herfoss to keep up all the way to the finish line. But if you look up in the left-hand corner, you see his beats per minute are sitting at 156. He's got another 30 beats to work with before he hits his max heart rate. That's just how strong this man is, and that's also why he's been making a massive gap up. He's been gaining points every week, left, right, and center. Every time he races, he usually never disappoints. And I think I'll let you in on a little bit of a secret out there as a spectator, or if you're listening in as the other riders. You want to know what Troy Herfoss' secret is? He's got a DS. He's got a coach. I spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he mentioned that his great girlfriend is usually sitting next to him with the laptop out, sitting there, relaying information going, oh, Troy, Drew Jin is about to attack, or Drew's heart rate is at near max heart rate. You're doing good. Now is the time to attack. I mean, just look at that, as we've got riders off the front now. Brian McNally has gone off the front trying to counter. And what kit is that? I'm digging that kit. That is the Gold Coast Super Cycle kit while he's on a Specialized bike. Absolutely love that kit as he's gone off the front. But the DS is the best S, basically. That is like, you need the Sports Directive. You need a coach, you need somebody to cheer you on. And if you don't have anybody, I would gladly be your DS tonight as you're listening in and you're getting a bit of encouragement. So, you know, Linky, Coach Aiden, Savatsky, Watson, Tolhertz, Nazi, Fleming, Aaron Dunn, anyone out there listening right now, come on, right on everyone. We've got about 150 viewers out there listening, watching, as you are riding, as you are kicking those tires. It's about time you give it all out there on courses. We've got Leach also sitting in here as well. Great riders, great efforts, and it's incredible what people will do out here on course. Also, I just noticed we got Fixie Joel out here as well. So Wes did mention he wanted to get more Wolfpack Tasmanian riders out there, and it looks like he held up his end of the bargain as Fixie Joel, Ockerby, Nazi, and Don, 4 riders making up the pack here. And they've got numbers in this group, as we've got Nazi off the front, I think that is, and it is him at 8 watts per kilogram. Savatsky, Leach, Herfoss, all reacting to it, but I think at the top here, it's going to come back together again. So 20 kilometers into the race, 25 minutes in, solid efforts all around, as Mitch Maycock is sitting at 183 beats per minute. He usually beats quite high out on course. He's in his ace right now. He's using that Specialized bike as well. Anyway, guys, again, if you're enjoying this video, if you're enjoying this live stream, this race broadcast, make sure to click that like button right below to let us know you want to see more content like this, as we do this every Tuesday, both in the morning and in the evening. With, in the morning, the eCrit series. In the evening, you've got the amazing Kids Europe race with Tim Cartwright, Adam Webb, Allenby. I mean, you've got Szynski from Poland. You've got all these great riders, Scotty Wise, Kim Little, and that's the Europe. But can they handle the force, the entourage of the Australian eCrit series? I think we need to organize some sort of clash. East versus Europe, Australia versus Europe. I would love to see who would be the strongest. Tim Cartwright versus Troy Herfoss, Scotty Wise versus Anthony Vegan Porsche, Kim Little versus Drew Jin. I mean, who's going to organize that? Let's make that happen, everybody. I think that would be a great show match prior to the live event in Melbourne in September. As we're about to cross under the finish line again, head up those red roads and pay the Queen another visit out there on the Classics course today. The group is still very much together. It's one of the biggest packs we've seen so far over the last few weeks in racing. Does that mean the pace is slow? No. Several riders have been averaging 5 watts per kilograms, which is I mean, some of the best you can get on Zwift. Because that's actually a good topic. If you were to average 5 watts per kilogram for an hour for the entire race, the Zwift anti-doping agency, controlled by the community, would actually get in touch with you just to verify that everything is in order. Because to put out 5 watts per kilogram, that is like almost like elite. Like that is very, very, very good. And just to make sure to uphold the integrity of the racing and make sure that everybody's putting out like numbers that they can attend to, SADA, the Zwift Anti-Doping Agency, do put in a lot of work and a lot of effort to make sure that all setups are verified, every number is, punctuated, is correct. So to those guys that run that, I mean, I give you a massive round of applause to say thank you so much for making the racing possible, for putting in the effort, for working in the dark to keep us, citizens of Australia nice and safe out on course. You are the Dark Knight. Watching on as we're on board with Drew Jin, sitting in the middle of the pack as we're on that GoPro camera view. He's sitting in the middle, and he's sitting at 300 watts, which is about 100 watts less than he's been sitting at all race so far. So safe to say he's resting up a tiny bit now. His heart rate has come down. He is utilizing a bit of draft as he's trying to assess the situation. He's got strong riders in here. I do not believe he's actually communicating with any of them outside of the racing, so he may just be on his own as he kicks it up to 7 watts per kilogram. As we're on board, he kicks it up 90 RPM, 175 beats per minute, but it looks like he's just dragging the pack along. Drew Jin, Olympic rower now, going off the front. And we'll give that effort a ride on as he is trying his best to split up the race. But with WP tasks, with several riders in this race, it's going to be difficult to try and break it up as they've got Aaron Dunn that they're looking out for, their main man, their main sprinter for the end. But if Drew Jin got company, if Nancy were to bridge across, that would mean that WP tasks wouldn't have to work. If Troy Herfoss would bridge across, that would mean we've had 2 V8 engines, motors out in the front, and they would just run endlessly without ever having to fuel up, because these guys are running on biofuel. I mean, these guys are the future. As long as the sun is out, they'll keep going, and that's what's happening right now. I definitely do spot the sun out on the London course. Drew Jin, Troy Herfoss has gone off the front. It may just be that he's listening into that. He realizing that Drew Jin has got a solid gap of 3 seconds, and Anthony Vegan Porsche awake to the task at hand, using that Tron bike to try and bridge across, but Troy Herfoss not willing to drag Anthony Vegan Porsche with him, as Savatsky says, no, you're not going to get away. I'm going to go to the front, putting in an effort, and it's all back together. Gruppo Compacto, as it's all back together. I believe you Australians say too easy. Is that what you say? I mean, I'm trying to pick up on the slang down there. I definitely heard that was a ripper of a ride while I was out riding in Sydney. So, again, if you can teach me the local lingo, please do help me in the comment section below, as we're going to try to, make this a bit more Australian. I'm Danish, by the way, so Australian lingo, Australian slang is not second nature for me, but I do just love the culture. I just love Australia. I'm just falling in love with you guys and the nature and the riding, so oh, you guys are awesome. As we're just seeing Australians out there as well, out on course. Aaron Dunn, for once, has gone off the front. I mean, maybe that may just be a leg opener, trying to, shake out some of that lactic acid. They have been riding for half an hour. Maybe the legs are starting to feel a tiny bit heavy. Went off the front. Just try to loosen them up, get a better positioning, as we're now halfway through the race. We've got another 18 kilometers to go. That's another 4 laps, I do believe, out on course, and it's been a fast-paced race so far with average speeds of around 46 kilometers. So we've got Ockerby sitting in there, not actually rocking that Imgamba WP task kit. Maybe Wes Salzberger, if you're listening to this, maybe it's time we need to get a WP task dedicated kit in the game, because I do believe this is the Imgamba kit that Team Poland of Europe is also racing with out on course. Let's take a look at who's been shelled off the back. We've got a breakaway in the front. There's actually a breakaway happening out here. We got Watson, Don, Ockerby, and Scott with a 4-man group. This could actually be a big move. Nobody back in the peloton is aware to this fact. Nobody's reacting to this. There are 2 teammates off the front right now, and if they do not bridge that gap now, they could be gone. Don and Ockerby off the front. 2-man group. This could be good, but look at all those power-ups. We got featherweights on the right. We got aero power-ups in the middle. And this is the end for the breakaway, as several power-ups have been popped there. Drew Jin, Nazi, everyone just catching back up, and that breakaway, that is now no longer a thing, as they've been caught up by the peloton in the back. But Ockerby still trying to bridge away, trying to take the fact that everyone may be on the edges. I mean, my joker to win this has got to be Ben Hill. I mean, I definitely remember seeing Ben Hill out there. I do also believe Rebecca Wozniak? Is that, sorry if I butcher that name, but as a social media assistant, I've definitely seen her give a bit of a shout out on Twitter. So if you're watching this, Rebecca, I mean, you better be writing in right-ons right now, as Ben is putting in a solid effort out on course, and he looks poised if he can get that heart rate down to put in a great result in the eCrit today. But these riders are not going to go down easy. Troy Herfoss, the Goliath, I mean, he is the man to beat. I mean, everyone has got a dart, where's my British pop knowledge? A dart, one of those things that are round, it's got a bullseye in the middle. Everyone's got one of those with Troy Herfoss' face on it, and they're throwing darts at it, trying to, dethrone the king. That is how big of a juggernaut Troy Herfoss is in this peloton. Every time I chat to the riders after the race, they go, Drew Jim was so fast, Troy Herfoss was unbelievable. I mean, we've just got to try and come up with ways to try and dethrone these guys, as they are definitely the king of the East out there on course. Another attack off the front as Ockerby has taken that role of Nazi to try and break things up, as Nazi just rests up for a second, and Ockerby once again off the front, but it looks like he's going to be caught by Linky as well. And now he's once again 8 watts per kilogram off the front again. And he settles in at 4 watts. 27 kilometers down, speeds of about 50 kilometers an hour. This is fast, ladies and gentlemen. This could be one of the fastest London Classic 7 courses race we've seen so far. Or 7 laps, sorry. London Classic's course 7 laps. I'm even stumbling over my own words. That's, oh my god. Maybe I should have shaken off the jet lag as well and jumped on my other bike, which is right there hooked up to the trainer. Maybe that could have been good for me. I think I might take part in the Aussie Day Hump Ride tomorrow. So if you don't know what that is the premier group ride, coffee ride from Australia on Zwift. The banter is top notch, and at the very, very end, it's a bit of a workout session as well, but it's open for everyone. It's definitely great fun, and I think I'm going to jump on tomorrow before heading to work and just, loosen up the legs, try to shake the jet lag, and have some fun chatting with the crew. 28 kilometers down. Let's try and take a look from the overhead view. The group is definitely thinned down. Neil Padlaw did see he was dropped earlier on, 4th place so far in the eCrit. He's going to finish outside top 10 today, which is going to be crucial for him, as he's going to start losing points as other riders start gaining on him. So he's going to have to find another gear for the next races. Today he's going to save it up and save something for next. We got Blackburn in here, we got Creel at the back. Riders are spat out the back now as the pace has gone through the roof. It also looks like all the Zwift HQ members have also been dropped out the back. And Troy Herfoss is the facilitator. He is the conductor. This train is not moving anywhere without Mr. Troy Herfoss giving it the go, and he just blew the whistle, as this is the final station, ladies and gentlemen. 28 kilometers to go now, and Troy Herfoss has definitely bought an express ticket. He's going off the front once again. Every single time, it's at this moment in time, he goes off the front. He's just got something in him. There may be something with this false flat that he just likes. He's on that kicker, and he feels the change of resistance, and he goes, bam, that's my time to shine, as he turns on the flamethrower, and he just goes right off the front. But I think that flamethrower was on half volume, so he only burned half of the matchbook so far. I think he's still got another 2 or 3 attacks left in him. But the question is, will it be in vain at the very end? We've also seen the other side where you keep attacking. I duly remember Nazi in one race. He kept attacking, he did so well. And the one attack he didn't cover was actually the attack that went away with Cameron Roberts. And Roberts won, and Nazi finished 11th. But Nazi just did the perfect thing. he just didn't get lucky. Sometimes that's all cycling comes down to, whether or not Lady Luck shines your way. 5, 6, 7 seconds now. This gap is growing out. Who is going to be the one to chase us down now? You would assume WP Task, the Wolfpack, would start to put out the pace a tiny bit more, but everyone is already at their limit. Everyone is already putting in solid efforts now as they're starting to hurt. 40 minutes on the bike is a lot at this pace. This is a high-intensity training session as they're trying to catch Troy Herfoss now, but this could just be all over as he's 6, 7 seconds behind now. You can see it is man versus pack. It is man versus wild now. 5 more seconds. Hassan, Ben Hill, and there goes Ockerby. WP Task, 11 watts per kilogram. This is Ockerby trying to do the work for Aaron Dunn, trying to bridge back that gap to Troy Herfoss now. 3 seconds is the gap now as the riders behind are trying to catch on, and Ockerby taking over that role as a super domestique. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is magnificent to watch. Keep going, Ockerby. You're doing just great as he bridges across to Herfoss, and you would assume his heart rate is through the roof right now because that was another big attack. That was a jet engine being revved up and ready for takeoff. Now the question is, can he cruise at altitude or will he crash and burn in the Hudson River? We'll see what Mr. Ockerby can do now. So he's with Herfoss, 6-second gap. I mean, it's looking good for these two riders, but now Mr. Aiden, Coach Aiden sitting at the front, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. The rule of thumb on Zwift is that you cannot let anyone get more than about 10 seconds. 10 seconds is almost impossible to catch back up if you're at the same speed out on course. We'll see what's going to happen now. This next ascent of the Whitehall climb is going to be crucial because we'll see who's got anything left to bridge across and try to neutralize that break, because the two riders in the front, Ockerby and Troy Herfoss, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep going. They're going to keep chugging along. They're going to keep rotating, taking turns, making sure both of them stay fresh until that final lap. And you can see that's them up there while we got the peloton back here. And WP Task is not going to chase. They've got a rider in the breakaway. This is down to Vision. This is down to Drew Jin, who I do no longer see in this group. Drew Jin may have had a mechanical, which could have a massive impact on the racing at hand. But Ben Hill, there he goes, our pro Conti racer, pops that aero power up and goes off the front. 5 seconds, 4 seconds. He's got to keep this up though now. He's taking it down a notch, but this is where you've got to keep that up. That aero power up is going to last for 60 seconds. You've got to keep it up. You've got to keep going now. And that gap has been neutralized. That Mitch Maycock now, 7 watts per kilo, has gone off the front. We'll see. This pack is going to start to hurt. Anthony Vegan Porsche at 185 beats. He's got another 10 beats to work with. He's so close to his max heart rate now. He's got Jeffrey Keel sitting at the back using that draft effect. That may be the rider they're setting up for glory today. They may not be going for that overall leader's jersey, but perhaps the individual stage victory out on course today. Troy Herfoss sitting in as well, but Drew Jin looks like he's gone. Drew Jin looks like he's no longer in this main peloton of riders, and that's going to have a massive impact on the racing because he would be one of the facilitators. He'd be one of the riders that would keep attacking off the front, that would keep chasing down the gaps, but it looks like he may have had a mechanical, and since Mavic and Shimano don't operate down in Australia, there's no help for Drew Jin today. He's going to have to go out and do another rowing session, it seems like, to get in his daily form or his daily fitness. Anyway, great effort, man. As always, it's a pleasure to have an Olympic rower out on course. So, taking stock of who's in this group, got Troy Herfoss, Ben Hill, Anthony Vegan Porsche, Ockerby, Savatsky, Nazi, Dunn, Watson. That looks to be, and also Jeffrey Creel. Those are the main riders out on course with 10 kilometers left. 2 more laps of racing. This group has gone from being this big, and slowly every single lap, it is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller as the pace has been up through the roof. And I mean, right now, it's looking good. It's looking fast as these riders, they're not holding anything back. They're just, you know what? They're giving everything. It is a Tuesday night, and they know after this, they can go get themselves a beer. They can go get themselves a Vegemite sandwich. They've got recovery options, but for the next 10 to 15 minutes, they've got to turn those eyes inwards and look into your soul and say, 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes. I know I'm hurting. I know the guy next to me is hurting. Who is going to tolerate that pain the most? Who is going to say, you know what, there's no tomorrow, there's only right here and right now, there's no redoing. So far as we know, there's no hot tub time machine. We've got to give it everything here, and that's what they're going to do. The men from down under, they're about to plunder everybody. This is going to be a great race out on course. I mean, this is incredible so far. I mean, there's something about the eCrit series. It may just be my fairy tale enthusiasm goggles that I love to put on, but every week commentating the eCrit series, it never disappoints. It's always high quality racing. You never know what's going to happen down to the final minutes of the racing. It could be a dominant display from one rider. It could be a surprise aero power-up. It could be a mechanical. I mean, eCrit series is just plenty of surprises, and if you want to get on, all you've got to do is get on Zwift, download the Zwift mobile link-up app, go on it, then enter the event, bam, you're ready to go, you're ready to race with the strongest racers out on course, and it's just a great experience. And these guys, they will take you in under their wing. There's no bad blood. Everyone here, for 15 minutes, they put aside the differences, and the only thing that does the talking is right down in that region, and yes, no, maybe, yeah, it's the legs, everybody. That's all that does the talking, and so far, the legs look pretty dead out there. And they look like they may need a bit of regenerating. They may need some hydration out there, as it's been a hot day down under out in London. 34 kilometers to go. And let's start to think. So what would Matt Keenan say right now? He would come in with a reference. He would start to, start to mess about with the rider. So looking at Ben Hill right now, he's at 4 watts per kilogram. He looks like he's out delivering newspapers in the local neighborhood. Not even worried, not even bothered with the current pace so far. Sitting in solid, doing great pacing, and he's got it. And then what else would Matt Keenan say? He would come up with, Jesper, my mother always told me, Matt, you think too much. It's time for you just to put down the watts. Or no, that's not what he said. No, don't quote me on that one. Nope. Matt Keenan, though, great commentators. You Australians, you're lucky to have Matt on your side, on your commentary screen, or in your ears as you're watching racing down under. Speaking of great commentary, Lee Turner, Mr. Hollywood, is it Broadway? It's one of those two, his nickname. Absolutely amazing human being. And if you're not already following him on Instagram at Lee Turner, you definitely should, as he's got some very interesting kit selections out there. I mean, top-notch guy. Now the pacing has slowed down a tiny bit out on course, and so has the commentary. I know I can get very hyperactive and very exciting, and it's just like a waterfall. It feels like you may be in Australia, but it feels like you're watching Niagara Falls. I mean, it's just non-stop flowing, and for some people it may be a bit too much. For others, it's okay. I do apologize, but I just get so into the racing. But now, slow down a tiny bit as the peloton actually right back up to speed as Troy Herfoss, 8 watts per kilogram. We're coming to another false flat. This is his territory. He's gone off the front again, and by now the riders are going to start to hurt. Ockerby's following, Nazi's following, Savatsky kicked it up again. They're just all reacting to Troy Herfoss. All the eyes are on Troy as he keeps attacking off the front. And if you're not familiar with Troy Herfoss, he excels at high speeds. He's the Australian MotoGP champion back-to-back now, and at high speeds, 48 kilometers an hour. He's used to leaning into those corners and getting the most out of the apex and the aerodynamics, and that's why everyone's eyes are just zoned in and focused on Troy as he's kicking it off again now. 6 watts per kilogram at the front. This right now is going to start to inject a lot of pain on the riders behind. It looks like Watson has been dropped from this group as well. Leach just hanging on. Ben Hill at the back. Mitch Maycock also at the back. Several strong riders are now struggling as the pace is through the roof, but it looks like Aaron Dunn has done well so far to sit in, and he's about to put another effort now going up the Trafalgar Square climb. Two times left. 2 rides left. This is the penultimate ascent of the Trafalgar Square climb. This could be the final time you could really make the difference before coming into the sprint. We'll see, and we're seeing orange numbers once again all around the right side. Hassan, Anthony Vegan Porsche, Nazi, Leach, everyone up to 10 watts per kilogram. It's like an interval. It's like a 10-second interval of everything you've got, and then you got to recover once you get to the top. But that's what these riders excel at now. As they're onto the top, looks like everyone's still together, and we've got 8 kilometers to go. I want to see over on the Zwift Facebook page, in the chat section below, who do you think is going to win? I want to hear your predictions right now. So we've got 8 kilometers to go. Who do you think will succeed? Who will be the victor in today's race and get all 20 points towards that overall standing in the East eCrit series? Let me know right now. The ballot is going to close in about a kilometer or so, because that's when I expect the action to pick up once again. So make sure to get your vote in right now. Thinking of the different scenarios that could happen in this course, we're looking set for a sprint unless Nazi, unless Troy pick it up on the false flats again. I do expect Troy to go on the attack once again, coming down that red road right up to the switchback. That's where I expect Troy to give it another go, and that's where Ackerby and Nazi are gonna have to react to it to try and help Aaron Dunn get in the best possible position. If that doesn't succeed, he'll sit up, he'll wait, we'll go into the flat in the red sections, we'll go into another false flat. That's where I expect another attack. If that doesn't succeed, we'll go to the Whitehall Trafalgar Square climb, 200 meters at like 6 or 7%, and that's when we'll see another attack, and that could be the decisive one. No, what happened? No, what? No. No, what happened? It just went all the way back. Oh, we gotta go to the front. We're watching. This is the botch. Oh, thank God. So for something, as you know, the broadcasting tools are not actually available yet. So I don't know how or why, but it just threw me all the way back to myself. But due to some extra tools available, we actually just jumped straight back into it. So there were some technical difficulties right there, but my producer got me right back up to the moto in the front group, and everything worked brilliantly. We're back to the front group, and we're not gonna miss the action out on course. Thank God. That would have been funny. 48 minutes out on course, and then it'd be like a Spanish production. You know when you're watching Volta Catalunya and you've been sitting and watching for 3 hours and you come to the sprint finish and the camera's like, yes, it's good, we're watching the finish, and suddenly the camera goes, and that's when you miss the finish. That's what that reminded me of there for a second. Oh, Nazi is saying power up, please. There's a bit of banter going out now. He's saying he wants a power up. He's of course looking for that aero power up. And that's where, if you've been saving an aero power up, that's where it's going to come and make a big difference going into the finish here. And let's try and, in case it comes down to a sprint, let's outline the sprinters. First up, Savatsky. Savatsky has won from a sprint before in this exact course, in this exact distance, the exact length, but thanks to the aero power up. He went right under Admiralty Arch, he went up to 10 watts per kilogram with the aero power up, and he held that for about 500 meters. This guy is a monster. Great guy. I had a chance to talk to him in Melbourne. He's one of the riders to watch out for. Another sprinter, of course, Mr. Aaron Dunn, our current overall leader. And the only way you get to the top by 100 points is by being a great sprinter, and Aaron Dunn is just that. Another rider to look out for is him. And then Troy, speaking about an all day so far, he's got a sprint on him. Whether or not he wants to, commit to that fact, he's got a sprint on him. And Anthony Vegan Porsche has finished second in sprints before, thanks to that low body mass. It means his watts per kilo can go through the roof. So if he can hit about 800, 900 watts for 10 seconds, that will mean he'll be looking to be in stellar form on this final lap. Because when they went under that lap, when they went under the start finish banner, there was a fat lady with the bell ringing it, going, there we go everybody, final lap, 4 kilometers to go. It's about time you get ready for the final 4 kilometers in the hurt zone. Here we go now. So on the false flat, there were no attack, nobody went off the front. Now we're heading over to the next false flat as the moon is setting and the sun is starting to come out. And with that, the legs are also going to start coming out any second now. I mean, can you feel that tension? Can you feel the nervousness in the pack? Everyone is kind of like looking over their shoulder, getting in that last bottle, maybe opening up a gel. Nobody's really willing to put on one big attack just yet. But I feel that about 10 seconds time, maybe 15 seconds time, somebody's going to take a lighter out. Somebody's going to take a match and strike it. Go up to their piece of firework, their rocket, and then we're going to go shh. Poof. That's when everything is going to blow to pieces. Who's going to light that piece of firework? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe it's going to be a sizzler. Maybe it's going to be a dot. But it could also be the most magnificent display of pyrotechnics you'll ever see. Now, who's that going to be? We'll just have to wait and see. But Midnight is stroking any second now. Vegan Porsche sitting first. Troy Herfoss second place. You got Aaron Dunn marking the third rider. Porsche on the front now, not letting anyone attack now. 3 kilometers to go, and there goes Savatsky, 5 watts per kilogram, trying to make his way to the front, not letting anyone get off. Nobody's going to attack just yet. It seems like they're all saving everything they've got for that one final kick. They know the Trafalgar Square climb at 200 meters is going to be the decisive factor. That's where the time can be made up. Now the question is, who's that going to be? Who's going to be a mountain goat? Who's going to climb to the top of that hill? Who's going to go to the very, very top and yodel down and create echoes, create ripples in the water? We've got everyone here. They're all used to being on the beach. Who's going to create the biggest wake? Who's going to be the best now? Who's going to take that wave and surf it all the way to the finish line? This is going to be interesting to see. Who's going to score all 50 points at that finish line? We'll see who's going to be the judge now. Here we go. 2 kilometers to go. 500 until we hit that climb. We've got riders left, right, center. Everyone sitting in. Nobody willing to attack just yet. But the pace is starting to ramp up. And we're about to hit this climb, everybody. I hope you're ready for it, because this is going to be fireworks. Featherweight being popped a bit preemptively by the rider on the left. We've got an aero power being popped as well. Ben Hill up to 9 watts per kilogram. Now another featherweight by Ben up to 9, 10 watts per kilogram. He is going. Ben is going. Ben is going. Ben is going off the front. He's trying to make the gap, but nothing is going to separate the riders. Everyone is still together. Savatsky is in his wheel. On his right side, you got Aaron Dunn as well with another air power up. Anthony Vegan Porsche on the right side, saving his power up. So that's a bunch of power ups being used before going into the final sprint, and with no gaps created, that's going to be counted as a mistake now, as we've got another about a kilometer and a half to go now. They can see La Flamme Rouge on the left side. Savatsky on the front, Ockerby, Dunn, Nazi, Porsche, Aiden. We've got Nazi. Everyone is still together. After 55 minutes of racing, nothing is going to separate. It's going to come down to a sprint finish. Ladies and gentlemen, strap in, tighten up the shoelaces. This is going to be a great finish now out on course. Who's going to take all 20 points at the finish line and make their way up through the ladder? Or is it going to be Aaron Dunn cementing his place at the very, very top? He has got to be the favorite. I did not see him pop a power up going up that climb, meaning he may be saving a feather, maybe saving an arrow. But is anyone going to take the prom king and queen's glory right at the finish line here? This would be the moment right now to sneak off the front and steal the victory. But does anyone have the cojones? Does anyone have the guts to go off the front and do one last attack? 1 kilometer to go, 950 to go, 900 meters to go now, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready for the final minute of racing here in the East eCrit Series, race 7 here down under in Australia. We got Mitch Maycock already, 12 watts per kilogram. He is going to give it a go. He's going to see if he can get off the front, 9 watts per kilogram. Jeffrey Creel ready to the task, but it looks like it was too early by Mitch Maycock. At 190 beats, he has burned himself out already. Ockerby, Nazi, both working for Aaron Dunn, putting in the work for him now. 7, 8 watts per kilogram. Who has got the power up on the left side? That is Savatsky. It's deja vu. He's doing it all again. 13 watts per kilogram. He did this in race 4, and he's about to do it in race 17 again. Aaron first at 1 second behind Dunn in 3rd place, but the aero power up from Savatsky. But it's going to come down to the wire now. Troy Herfoss, it's not done yet. Troy coming by at the very last minute, and it's Troy, Savatsky, done. And I've lost my voice, ladies and gentlemen. What a race. It looked like it'd be deja vu. Race 4 all over again. Savatsky with a power up, but instead it's Troy Herfoss at the very last second coming around. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed that, make sure to hit the like button below. My voice is running out, but in about an hour or so over on Zwift Community Live, we'll be covering the Western eCrit as well. So if you want to watch more racing like this, head over to Zwift Community Live. I'm going to go get myself a water bottle because this voice is done. What a race. Everyone that raced tonight, thank you so much for jumping on the bike and providing us with your sweat, tears, and excess watts. Been great to watch. And everyone from the East eCrit series, I'll see you next week. So Troy Herford, Mr. Savatsky, Aaron Dunn. Great racing. If you want to see all the results, head over to swiftpower.com or head over to Zwift Community Live. I will announce them all in an hour. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys over on Zwift Community Live.